Welcome back, my darling alien babies, to that Weird Alien Girls podcast. What can I say? It has been a while. Technically I was on Podbean, but I found that if you don't have money to make a plan on it, it just kind of ruins the vibe. So I was like, you know what, actually I'm just going to move this to YouTube. That way I can post as much as I want, whenever I want, without having to pay for it. So that has actually made me feel somewhat grateful for YouTube, where it's a platform where you can express yourself for free, but they do still make a profit off of you, so no one really wins there. But get my knee on that, baby. Sorry, I'm just trying to get myself comfortable because obviously we're in a time right now where things are a bit rocky and not necessarily great. And it's kind of forced me to try and organize myself a little bit, try and get myself into a sorry, I'm moving my mic a bit closer. It's kind of is forcing me to try and get myself organized and find a form of routine. So sorry, I realized I was looking at myself instead of the camera. I'm actually really happy with this look today. If technically what I'm going to be doing is some of these are going to have videos to it and then some of them are not going to. I've only posted one of my podcasts which had a video to it, which is weird thing. After I posted that podcast with that eye makeup look, I started seeing it everywhere, and for a second the little crazy person in my mind was like, oh my god, people are stealing your look, people are copying you. But then I was sitting there going it has 3 views. There is no way that someone saw that and just went, hey everyone, copy this one look. So I was like, no, I think I just somehow maybe predicted that eye makeup trend, or just happened to be a coincidence. But I am a little bit psychic, so I do think I predicted it. I actually there's some things that I do where it's if I like something, or if I do something, it's I predict that it's going to be a trend and I do it right before it happens. I bought these beautiful holographic roller skates about 2 weeks before COVID even happened, and then as soon as COVID happened I started seeing those everywhere and everyone was getting into roller skating, and then I was sitting there oh, it can't be original nowadays. So I've got a beverage by me. It's just a Pepsi Light. Technically I'm not meant to be having soda because I'm trying to challenge myself to eat and drink healthier, because that's stuff I haven't really been doing ever. Not even, can't blame COVID-19 for that. So I'm trying to get myself into shape. I dyed my hair. I had blonde hair for about 5 years, because when I was in my teens, young teens, so basically throughout high school, I made horrible decisions with my hair, and I would dye it and everything, and I'm pretty sure it made me look like a very unattractive lesbian. I would like to say I looked like an attractive lesbian, but I did not. And I'm to make it clear, I am straight, but I'm so I'm so supportive of any type at all, because I don't know, it's if it's not me, not my business, you just do you. That's how it is. But for me, it's that's the kind of the look I was portraying, but not to say that any of them are unattractive, just that I was unattractive. So don't think I'm special. I'm just not. Anyway, so it's just weird to get back to this, because if I had my own little studio where I had privacy and I just felt I could talk and it didn't feel the neighbors could hear me, or my family that are sleeping could hear me, I feel I would just really enjoy this, and I would yell and be loud and be silly and raunchy or whatever. But I think it's just because I've got my own mental demons that, you know, stop me from feeling like I can express myself entirely. I'm still looking at myself, whoopsies. uh, a little bit vain am I, maybe. But still, like, I guess that's like one thing that I struggle to be open about is my mental health. And I've just been struggling to find things that make me feel like I express myself, especially because now that we're all forced to stay home, it's like we are all forced to like stare our demons right in their beady eyes. And it's intimidating because like majority of the time I honestly just don't know what I'm doing. So it's like, well, all right. And I'm like really trying hard to kick bad habits to the curb, and it is interesting. I definitely have been at my lowest this year, because this year was the year that I was legitimately planning everything. Like I had all my ducks in a row and I was literally about to get my life started and get into that, and then this happened and it literally threw all of it like off the fucking wagon. Like it's all gone now. Like there is no coming back from there. So that kind of threw me in a bit of a spin going, oh my God, like what am I meant to do now? Like it kind of making me feel like, well, this is it. Like this is all I've got. Like see you later, rest of my life. Like I'm not going to be able to achieve anything anymore. And it's just, I don't know, like it was really silly, I feel like, for me to get that scared and confused. But it's like a really scary and confusing time, because I feel like for especially the younger generation, like there is no pathway being built for them. And even for my generation, there isn't much of a pathway either. Like it's like any existing paths as well are now getting deconstructed and they're not there anymore. So it's like kind of like we're all thrown into everyone fend for themselves without even having tools to do that. So it's just kind of like everyone's freaking out, everyone's like running around like headless chickens, like what are we meant to do? Everyone's getting angry at each other. Like so many things that are really wrong with this world, like that need to be addressed, are all getting addressed at the same time. So it's just becoming like everyone's overwhelmed, everyone's angry with each other, everyone's keyboard warring, like everyone's social justice warrioring. It's not a word, but I don't care. And it's like kind of created this vibe where it's like, even if you're here to like help everybody, you're still not here to help everybody. Like you're still the problem. It's like, because we can't blame the people that need to actually take responsibility to fix shit up. Like we're kind of just, it seems like I'm just like seeing like social media and it just looks like everyone's getting angry at each other, like before even giving anyone the chance to like actually do better. And then the people that have the chance to show change, some of them do it well, and then some of them just are backwards about it. And it's just, it's like a time where I'm literally afraid to do anything, because I feel like if I did anything that I would have a bunch of people hate me. And not even just me, but like I'm looking at other people and it looks like a lot of people are just getting hate. Like it feels like there's just a lot of hate in the world right now, and it's like, it's really scary, especially because I had aspirations to become like a YouTuber or to become an actress, and it feels like that opportunity is no longer a thing, especially because with COVID, like that's not necessarily in practice right now. And now I'm like debating becoming a comedian, but with the fact that everyone is so sensitive nowadays and everyone's getting so offended by everything, it's like, well, what am I able to joke about? Because I feel like my jokes that I was going to go based on myself and my own mental health, but I feel like even though it would be about me and my own mental health, people would still find something to get angry about it, because that's the kind of vibes that are going on right now. And it's like, I'm not upset with anyone by that, because I understand like with how the world is going right now, everyone's scared and frustrated, and like any opportunity that any of us would have had has been taken away from us. And I feel like this is especially a time where we should recognize that even though for some of us this is like the first time that that's happened, I know for me that this is not the first time. I've struggled always with my own entire life to find good opportunities, but it's more because I have mental health and I struggle to find them and I struggle to practice them. But you got to recognize like people like with the Black Lives Matter movement, like that's how they would feel all the time. Like it wasn't a pandemic that set them in that area. It was like that's their entire life. And I do believe that all life matters, including animals and trees, like the environment, humans, like all of that. But we have to see everyone as equal to that. And I think that's like the whole reason for this movement, is to bring them up to a state where when someone says all life matters, that they are actually considered as life and not just as a thing or an object that can just be tittered or tattered and doesn't matter what happens to them. And it's like there's so much anger and hatred towards the way someone says something, towards, you know, how they say it. And like a lot of people usually say don't talk about your opinions with this kind of stuff because it never gives anything good out. And I feel like right now that is definitely how it is right now, because even if you have the right opinion about it, someone's not going to like you for it. And with how angry people are getting right now, I just feel like now is a time to deconstruct everything that we've known and been through, and to reconstruct it to allow a new way of our society to come around. Because I don't know, like I feel like our world is becoming like too entitled. Everyone's becoming very entitled and privileged, and nothing really means anything anymore. It's like not no one, but there's not many people that know the value of anything really. Like it's a lot of people, I guess, especially people that are able to provide themselves and never have to worry. They never have to be scared about where their next meal's gonna come from, if they can get their next meal. Like being someone who's never really been great with money, like I understand that struggle, but there's like people out there who have never had to worry about that. So it's something where instead of still being taught like, hey, you have something, you should be really appreciative about having this, and you should try what you can to help other people get to experience this feeling as well. It's more, hey, you have this, and if you let someone else have it, then you're never going to have it anymore. So like it's all up to you to keep it to yourself. Like don't share it because it's not worth sharing. It's like, yeah, me. I don't know, it's like I want to put my 2 cents out there about how I feel about this kind of stuff, but then I'm also like torn because I don't want to add to any more problems. Like I don't want to sit here and spit out what's wrong with the world. I want like us all to get together and find a solution, like a diplomatic, logical solution for everybody. But what's frustrating for people is that the people that actually could do that, and people in power, they could easily take it, and they've shown through protests like that are peaceful that they can easily take somebody down. It doesn't matter whether or not if they're peaceful or violent. Like if we don't want that, we'll get rid of it. Like it's wild, honestly, like to see it doesn't matter whether or not if you're peaceful, it doesn't matter whether or not if you're like angry, it's just not getting anywhere. It's like kids on a playground and no one's observing, no one's watching. So it doesn't matter who gets hurt, it doesn't matter what happens, because at the end of the day they're going, well, I didn't see anything, like I wasn't there for it, like I'm not involved, like keep me out of it. It's like, actually no, you're the one that like bought the playground, you're the one that owns the playground, you're the one that set the playground rules. Like you need to be taking responsibility for the fact that you set up this playground and set its rules, and you put a gate around it, and you only let certain people in, and a lot of people are left out. It's up to them and their responsibility to take down that playground entirely and completely rebuild a new one with fair rules that are just, and let everyone on there. Because if everyone was allowed on that playground, maybe everyone would be a lot nicer. Maybe people would learn to share and to respect and to value people and everybody else. Like if only. Like we could all sit here and debate on this topic, but it doesn't seem to go down very well from what I see. Like people who do genuinely try to like set out the topic and set the word straight, it doesn't seem to go really well for them. And it's like kind of scary to like look at it and just see how some people are really stepping up, but then there's a lot of people that are kind of treating it like it's a trend, or a lot of people that are just completely ignoring the problem entirely and just going like, well, there isn't a problem because it doesn't affect me. It's like, well, it may not affect you, but there's a whole lot of other people that it affects. And there's a lot of other people that are actually in a good position that understand and do a lot of help. So it's like, if they can do it, so can you. I don't know. My brain's just kind of like all over the place. Like whenever I talk about this kind of stuff, I get really nervous because I'm really scared of saying the wrong thing, because in my mind, I know me and I know who I am and I know how I feel about things. But in other people's minds, they're not in here. Like they're not in my brain. They don't see the world from the many different perspectives that I see it from. So something that I could say and mean it in my own way, someone could hear it and interpret it as something completely different and go, well, this is where you're wrong and this is like, etc., etc. And like, I appreciate when people correct me if I'm wrong, because I do like being, like my mind being brought into new experiences, but I feel like people just want to feel right over other people because of how much everyone's being told that they're wrong, and they just don't want to be involved or take responsibility for their part in that. They just want to be like, well, actually I was right this whole time, everyone else was wrong, so I don't have any responsibility in that, so I'm going to stand on your side and fight for you, when in reality it's not necessarily weighed very, or it's not very stable. So they only do it for so long before they're like, well, that was me doing my part, like now I'm going to step back. It's like, no, you getting angry at a bunch of Karens isn't helping the situation. Like we need to come together, Karens included, to like be peaceful and find a solution and bring it to the government. Because while we're angry at each other and like at each other's throats, we're not actually taking care of any real problems. We're just getting angry about it, having a scrap like boys do, and then just pissing out. Like then another problem comes along and we'll scrap about that. It's like, no, that's kind of like distracting ourselves from actually solving the problem. It's not doing anything. It's just letting out the emotions. And I feel like we should be allowed to let out emotions. Like with everything going on right now, we're all screwed. Like we're all screwed. Like it's going to be really hard to come back from this. There's a lot of people that are losing so much. Other countries I feel like are handling this really, really well, but then some others aren't really handling it well. And we're so divided as a society, as a humanity, that it's like people just don't see that majority of the solution is that we're all human, and it shouldn't matter whether or not like our sexual preference, our gender preference, our skin color, our race, like it shouldn't matter about any of that. Like the language we speak, if we can't even speak a language at all, like if we are mute, if we're deaf, like if we have a disability, it shouldn't matter. We're all the same. Like we all breathe, we all poop, we all pee, we all consume nutrients to stay alive. Like, probably I'm including vampires here too, like we are all the same. Like we all have the same anatomy. Like we're all incredibly different when it comes to our personalities. Like there's always going to be something a little bit different, but like we could use all of that and bring it together like a commune. Like that's the right idea. Like I feel like there aren't many hippies anymore, like true hippies, and if they are, like they're just too peaceful that they're just keeping out of everything. I don't know, I just feel like ever since 2000 we just kind of started going down and like stopped progressing as much, especially because it seemed like for some reason we were stopped from progressing, so that could also be an issue. The thing is, like the other day I was like sitting there and I was thinking, how weird is it? Like how cool would it have been to be in that era where, religion wasn't even invented yet? Like to think about it, this one person must have been doing something every day, creating their rituals, creating their peace, And they would have been doing that, and people would have looked at them and gone like, you're crazy, like what are you doing, there is like no God or anything like that. It would have taken a while to convince people that they're not just crazy, that, you know, that they have their own beliefs. And so they would have been seen as crazy until eventually religion actually started cultivating and growing, and everyone started like actually believing it and saying that this is solid and sound. And nowadays, if someone brings out a new idea, even if it's something that sounds incredibly ridiculous, although to me, some religions, I think they would have started out sounding ridiculous in the exact same way. But now it's like someone will come out with something like that, and instead of it being taken seriously and being cultivated into something that could actually make a difference, people are just told that they're crazy. Like, it's no longer, oh, you're crazy, but let's see if you're right. It's more like, no, you're crazy. Like, we have no use for you kind of thing. And it's like, wow. Like, no wonder why our society didn't keep growing, because it's people that invented things by just being weird, by being crazy, by like letting their brain just go to work. Like, we don't really encourage that anymore. And if you think about it, every single person has that in them. So for us to not be able to express that, for us to not be able to just continue to experiment because, you know, otherwise we're crazy, like, it's just, of course, we're all depressed. We're like a flower that doesn't have any sunlight. Like, we're not able to completely express ourselves, to completely let our like aura flow and like let what we believe in just be, like, to, you know, add to our realities. Like, we don't get to, and I think that's probably why games were invented, because we get to do things and then we get to create things and then we get to be crazy in there, in video games and stuff like that, or in movies. But like, when it comes to real life, it's way more mundane and it's like way more restricted. So it's like people are going to become antsy because it's a lot harder. It's a lot more difficult to get anywhere. It's a lot more difficult to get a proper education. Like, the school systems haven't changed in like decades, like been so long, and they haven't gotten any better. Especially, I feel like now that discipline is out the window, it's like, it doesn't have to be like violent discipline, like getting a smack over the head or a smack on the bottom. Like, it can be a discipline of getting a timeout, but now no one wants to discipline their kids. And it's like, well, that's not helping, because now everyone, you know, they don't get it. Like, they don't get that what they do has consequences. And then some people are just unfairly punished because of maybe someone else, and it's just like, it's all just confusing and backwards, and like, excuse me, and I get why like people would probably just want to go, I don't want to be involved, I don't want to have to deal with this, because it's a lot to take in and it's a lot to think about. But I don't know, I feel like we could all do each other so much more if we just really started listening to each other and uplifting each other and like helping each other to bring our ideas to life and to bring our creations to life. Like, obviously, all has to be within reason, because, you know, saying that we should all be allowed to express ourselves and create humanity does not mean, you know, like in Silent Hill, like Stefano, how he was like expressing his creation through humans and all that. You have to watch it. I don't even want to talk about it, but like, that's not the way I mean about expressing creativity. Like, it's to bring out more positives, you know, because there is obviously going to be like negatives in the world. Like, to believe that a world is never going to be negative is to be ignorant. Like, there's negatives in the world, but there can be like good negatives or good or positive negatives. Like, there's ways where it can all work out. Like, everything has a balance, like yin and yang. Like, there's order and chaos to the world. Like, you have to have both for it to kind of spin. Like, there's a lot of scientific ways of thinking about it, as well as there's a lot of spiritual ways of thinking about it. There's a whole lot of it. Like, it's out there and it's beautiful. Like, there's so many different perspectives, and it's amazing to look at all of it, because it's like, you just sit there and you go like, wow, I wonder how long it took them to think about this. Like, what if they thought about this like in a second? Like, how did they continue on with their work? Like, I don't know. We're not really involved anymore. We're all just becoming like couch potatoes kind of thing. Like, not like like metaphorically speaking, we're becoming like couch potatoes. We're not really allowed to like express ourselves or things out there as much anymore. It's all becoming a lot more antisocial. And it's very much like how in YouTube, everything started off like you didn't have to be the most talented ever to get somewhere. Like you could grow, like there was a lot of room for growth, where now it's like everything has to be like absolutely perfect. You have to be absolutely perfect, you have to be absolutely talented to have even someone look at you. And it's like, wow. Like no wonder people are frustrated, because that leads to a lot of comparing, which is like really toxic. And it's also a way of like literally just completely destroying your confidence and self-esteem. And when you have absolutely no confidence or self-esteem, it can lead to really bad choices, whether or not if it's a bad choice for yourself or a bad choice that affects another person. It just will always lead to like bad choices or painful choices. Like it's just a lot of hurt comes from that. And imagine like an entire, like half of our humanity is probably most definitely feeling that hurt right now, because there's a lot of injustice. And even, it's crazy because even just being a woman, like I can guarantee you that every woman has gone through an injustice, where I mean, I think a lot of men would also have gone through a lot of injustices in their own ways. But it's just, there's a lot more room for forgiveness on their side than there is for well, actually, if you really think about it, both like to be a woman and to be a man is a lot of struggle. You know, to be any gender is to be a struggle. To not want to be a gender, that's a struggle. Like, it doesn't matter who or what you want to be. There's always going to be a struggle. Everyone literally struggles. And to think that no one struggles is, again, ignorant. Because, like, what I've been learning is that, like, the more people that I get to know, and the more I listen and talk with people, the more I realize, like, even if it's only the littlest struggle, people still go through, like, everyone still goes through a lot of struggles, and they're still really painful for people. And, like, some might be easier than others, but that doesn't mean that it's like devil's advocate. There's a lot of struggles that are, like, worse for other people than they are for some others, but because that's, like, the thing that's difficult. If a room full of people were struggling, it would be easier to come up with a solution, I bet. You know, it'd be easier to come up with a way to go, oh, these room full of people are struggling. Let's find out each individual's problems, and like then we can figure out why it is, or like if there's a common denominator. Where when an entire world is struggling, to find the solution to that is going to be way more complicated and way more difficult. And it will be a lot like very tedious and painstaking to try and find a real solution. And I feel like that's why a lot of entertainment was created, was to help kind of distract people from that struggle instead of actually creating solutions. But it's also because we're overpopulating by a lot that it's becoming really hard for everyone to be heard and for everyone to be seen and for everyone to feel like they get to have, you know, a chance at life. And to me, I feel like that could have even been an excuse for an entire race to be ruled out, because it's like, oh, well, everyone struggles, like there's not enough spotlight to share, so we'll just pick the people that fade in the background easiest. It's like, sorry, I don't know, like, I could be completely wrong in saying that, but it feels like because not everyone's able to get the spotlight, it's like, let's pick the people that we feel like it deserves it most. And because I feel like the most popular nation for entertainment and for movies and TV shows and comedies is America, and they seem to primarily desire Caucasian people unless you were able to fight through all the discrimination and actually rise to the ranks. But it just is like, not everyone gets an opportunity. Only a stereotype gets a select opportunity. And it's really hard to fit a stereotype. Especially because a stereotype is a stereotype. It's not a good thing. Like, I don't know, like I remember growing up in like in high school, you get taught about stereotypes, and they don't necessarily say that it's a bad thing. Like they just go, this is what a stereotype means. Like it's, you know, a specific type of person, like a stereotype of someone who loves sport, a stereotype of, you know, we all know the stereotypes out there, but like they don't necessarily say whether or not if it's a bad thing. But I feel like stereotypes, the only way that they do any good is in comedy, because it's made to be a joke. But like now people are very sensitive and get offended, and they have every right to be, because you can only joke about something like after the wound is healed and had time, you know, like to be treated, where that wound is still fresh. So it's like they're making fun of someone who just got hit by a car. It's like, dude, too soon. And instead of like helping them or whatnot, they're just like laughing at them still while they're like sitting there in pain, like, bitch, I just got hit by this car, like, can you please get an ambulance? Instead it's just like, look at this bitch, of course she'd get hit by a car, of course he'd get hit by a car, of course they'd get hit by a car. You know, trying to add different synonyms. I don't know, it's even getting hard to like just talk, because even if you're just like talking, people don't want to be left out, because in life everyone, I feel like, is getting really like truly left out. Like I feel like the government's a club, and if you're not in the club, you don't exist, you're left out. So it's like things are going haywire, but they're in their club partying, having a good time. Maybe some of them are aware, but most of them just don't care. So it's like, well, all right then, all right, okay. I don't know, it's like, honestly, what are we meant to do? Like, especially because we can sit here and we can talk about it all we want, and we can even try and bring it to them, but the thing that I think is scary and has been like proven to be a very real thing is that unless, you know, we could outnumber them, even if we could outnumber them, they've made it so that they can have legal materials that could wipe out an entire nation. So they really have all the control. You know, they are the masters and we have to obey. They have all the power. We're just simpletons. So even if there is an issue and we come up and we'll be like, there's an issue, they can just kill off the people or extremely damage and wound people that actually have the problem. And then they go, all right, is anyone else got a problem? And then if someone raises their hand, they get the same treatment, they get the same dealt. So then they'll keep going, does anyone else want to raise their hand? Until absolutely no one raises their hand and everyone becomes silent all over again and nothing happens and nothing changes. It's just kind of like, that's where I find it scary. It feels like there is no way that we can push for change unless the people that were actually in power became good people. Or at least if good people were at least put in charge, and the people that shouldn't be in charge will take them back. But there's a lot of people that would rather be bad people, because it's a lot harder to be a good person. Like there's a lot less, you get a lot less out of life, because it's like in a movie, The Other Woman, Nicki Minaj says something that my mother told me, and these are words to live by: selfish people live longer. I'm just saying. And I'm just saying, even if that's true, that doesn't mean it's a good thing. Like, everyone wants immortality, everyone's afraid to die, because of course that shit is scary, but I at least believe that there is like life continues on. Like I feel like I'll get to go and experience another person or another life form at some point. Don't get me wrong, I still fear death because I don't want to die painfully, because that is scary to have to feel that pain. But it's like, I don't know, I think I got carried away and I kind of forgot what I was talking about. But I don't know, it's just something where it's something to think about, really. Because like a lot of people would rather be selfish, which is the reason why that things haven't ever changed for the better for us, because people that shouldn't be in power always seem to get in power, especially because the reason I think they always seem to get in power is because a lot of people would rather do evil than do good, and they justify themselves by their religion, but their religion has nothing to do with it. It's them solely as a person would rather be more selfish, would rather create more pain for other people, maybe because they're hurting themselves. So, just selfish people being selfish, and there's a lot more selfish people than there are good people. And I feel like maybe this is a time where people will start becoming more good and people better. People will start becoming better, people will start choosing, because I do want to believe that we have it in us as a society, as a humanity, to change, to get better. But there are a lot of people who have been set in their ways for an extremely long amount of time, and they've inbred that in every single person that they meet, in their own family members, in their own children. So it becomes a tradition of sorts, which is why I used to love Monster High, because they used to always advocate for breaking tradition, for, like creating a better and positive change, and which is what I really, really loved about them. And I was so devastated when they changed it. And it's probably why they changed it, because it was like a genuine, decent TV show that I literally was for all ages, all genders, I think. And yeah, it was a kids' TV show, but I still think it was something where it was teaching a lot of really good lessons, and it was just so diverse. It didn't really get to have any gay loves, I don't think. I always created my own within my own world of fantasy, there was always something going on, even if it wasn't on screen. I was always sure that it was happening behind the screen. But one thing I do have to give props to is DreamWorks, because their TV shows recently have had so much. I've been watching Kipo in the Age of Wonder Beasts, and oh my god, okay, I forgot Brandon and what was the other guy's name? But they actually had two guys have a thing. Oh, it was just so cute. I literally had to pause it, and I cried, and I was just so fangirling and so happy, because it was the most adorable thing ever. It was amazing and beautiful to see that actually be in a TV show, especially for kids. So it was yes, that was a total win, I think. And they've been doing that, I think, in She-Ra and the Princess of Power as well. And I just honestly, yes, thank you. I'm just so happy that that's something that's becoming more acceptable, because it always should have been, but it's fine. With the other TV shows, I created it in my head, so it still counts. Delicious. But yeah, I've been rambling. I should probably also add now, even though it's 38 minutes into this. I think it's 38 minutes. Anyway, I'm going to add that my podcasts are probably just going to be my inner thoughts and rambling, because there's been conspiracies going on about how the world's meant to end on Thursday, the 15th of October this year. So in my mind, I was well, whether or not if that's going to happen, I'm going to live as if it will. So I just decided that I want my podcast basically to be my inner thoughts and my inner diary, and just to kind of be talking about whatever it is that I'm feeling I want to talk about at the time, because I want to just put myself out there I want to make my mark. I want to share my opinions. I've always been so scared of just sharing my inner thoughts, sharing myself, and I've been really trying to challenge myself to do that this year, and I keep saying that I'm going to do it and then I never do. So with this, I'm probably with this podcast, I'm probably going to do it where some is going to be me dressing up because it gives me an excuse to try and look cute, and then some are just going to be me not on screen, so just my voice. Because sometimes I feel like I've got it in me to look cute and sometimes I don't. Like, my hair isn't the best right now. Like, I am still trying to encourage myself with my hygiene, because if you don't have good mental health, everything is a solid effort. So it's just trying to get my ducks in a row right now, trying to get myself sorted. Honestly, another reason why I feel like this podcast is something that I need to do is, especially I feel like a lot of people can relate with me on this right now, is that I'm struggling to find a reason to just keep going. I don't find, I wake up and I'm like, what do I even do? Because I'm not happy with anything that I do, and I struggle all the time, and it's great. Which is why I was actually thinking I'm gonna try and become a comedian. I mean, I don't know whether or not it's gonna work, but I'm gonna try, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Like I said before, I want my comedy to be about my experience with my own mental health and what I believe it to be, because I feel like if I can't joke about it, then I'm just gonna cry about it, and I would rather joke about it. So I've decided that for myself, I want to be, because I've always wanted to be an entertainer, and I wanted to be a YouTuber. I wanted to be like a YouTube gamer, like YouTube video gamer, but I don't know if that's realistic because I never have money, which is my own fault. It's really hard to get a job and then to keep that job, because they keep wanting to go younger and younger and younger to pay people less money. So it's like, being someone who has mental health issues, I struggle to just keep at it. So I'm trying to find ways to teach myself habits that are good for me, as well as, hold myself accountable for actual change, because that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to change. I'm trying to become my version of a hippie. I'm trying to become my version of fierce. I'm trying to become my version of basically peaceful and loving and fierce and bold and hopefully funny if I try to become a comedian. I would like to be an actress as well, but I still gotta go to acting school, and that's expensive. Everything is so expensive, but I know that I want to try and do it where I go to open mic nights and do comedy routines. And if I do end up doing that anytime soon, because I don't know about restrictions right now, if I do end up doing that though, I'm probably gonna record it and then post it to post it to here, because I do want to express it and share it, because right now I'm on my own mental health journey of trying to get better. Another thing that I'm trying to do to hold myself accountable is my own weight loss journey. I've always struggled with my weight, especially when I was a kid, and I have stretch marks everywhere. I feel like I look at myself and I go, I'm a phoenix, because it literally looks like I'm on fire because of the amount of fucking stretch marks I have everywhere. It's my way of trying to make myself feel better about it, but I want to actually work on myself, and I'm seeing so many people have these amazing weight loss journeys, so I'm like, that can be me too, if I just put the effort in every single day. So I'm trying to get into the habit. I'm trying to become a creature of habit, doing things every day, whether or not if it's something small or something big, just to keep the ball rolling. Otherwise, once it grinds to a halt, it's a lot harder to continue pushing it forward. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to pay it forward with myself and with people. But yeah, I do believe that I'm struggling right now, but every day I feel like I'm doing a little bit better, and I feel like that is what's important for me right now. I feel very overwhelmed to tackle any big issues right now, because if I can't even successfully tackle my own inner issues, I don't think I'll be any use to tackle bigger issues. But this is my way of trying to put my word out there to try and bring out my peace. It isn't much, but I feel like this is what I'm capable of right now, and I want to get better, and I'm trying to work on my confidence, and I'm trying to work on my self-esteem, and I'm trying to harvest everything that's in my mind, and create like a new sense of self, so I can feel like I can change and like things are good, because I've been feeling a bit like in despair recently, but I don't really like sharing that much, so it's probably as much as I'll say about that. Because if I'm being honest, I really struggle with knowing whether or not if I should be open about my mental health, because I think that's something that is still really not like looked well upon. So it's like, I don't know whether or not to share it or to just keep it to myself. So right now I think I'm going to keep it to myself, and I think the way I'll share my mental health will be when I'm doing my comedy, because I think that's a healthy way for me to be able to do it, because I feel too weird otherwise, because I feel like it's like people just don't want to hear it, and then when I share it I'm like, I regret that I should take the whole video down because of that 5 minutes. But I get in my head a lot, and I think I'm fine for the majority of it. All I know is that this is not going to be fun to post up, because I don't know why, but ever since COVID happened, I feel like just internet has been absolutely crap, and my internet is already shit. So it's going to be really interesting trying to upload this, and I can't wait to see how much it butchers the quality. So, but, I think I'll probably do it every now and then. I'll try to go for an hour. Every now and then I'll try and go for like 47 minutes. So it'll probably just be a bit back and forth. I feel like I have said as much as I want to say in this one. So I just want to say thank you for listening in. If you have listened in this whole time, eventually when I do start getting a bit more of an audience, even if it's like 5 people, I probably will start trying to do this live, for the sake of being able to actually conversate with people, instead of it just basically me being, instead of it being like a one-way road, I want it to be like a 2-way street. Like, I want to be able to talk about things and also have other people's opinions and kind of bounce off of that, and have that go for like at least an hour, like, because this is going to be my own version of a podcast. This is just going to be my own thing, and I want to try and do it as many days a week as I can. Like, I am trying to challenge myself to do it every day, but for while I'm starting off, it may not be every day. But the one thing I do love about doing this is it does give me a reason to get dolled up and to feel pretty. So like, that to me is something that I'm finding relatively important to it. But yeah, so I guess I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. I always feel weird saying that, because I don't really know if anyone is even there. I don't even know if there is a you guys, but I do plan on trying to do this as much as I can. If I don't post, I am really sorry. It's because it will be because I let my mental health get the better of me, or I just got really busy and let my mental health get the better of me. So I'm gonna again challenge myself to post more often, because this is something I feel like I really need to do for myself. And if it helps the people, or if it entertains other people, hey, it is what it is. It are what it are, and so be it. Nice as peppers. So that was something that one of my friends said, and she was like, we should definitely make this a thing, but I think it's meant to be a thing just between us as friends. So that might be the only time that I say it. Anyway, I really appreciate those who did stay throughout this whole time, and I hope to see you lovely alien babies in my next podcast, and we can be weird together. I'll probably let you guys know when I'm actually going to start doing live ones, because if I could, I would rather make this my job as well as being a comedian, because like to me that would be like so much fun. But you know, I don't want to get my hopes up, because every time I get my hopes up they get spoiled, and I don't want to do that to myself as much as anyone wouldn't want to. As well as I don't want to put pressure, like that kind of pressure. Like that's a lot. Like I just gotta work hard and hope that things pay off. That's all. All right. Okay, myself. Yes. Okay. Right. I never know how to end things. I'm really bad at saying goodbye. So let's make my outro be, you've been listening to that Weird Alien Girls podcast, and I hope to see you alien babies in the next episode. So stay fresh, stay tuned, and stay funky and groovy, baby. Shagadelic, baby. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Goodbye.